What's up, everybody? Thanks so much for tuning into another great week here at the Voice of College Football's Miami Postgame Show. We got Slim Shady Canes down here as usual, and Alex is on his way to the Bahamas right now, and he's tuning in from a cruise ship. So it's pretty good. Pretty good times. What you guys think? How you feel about that game?
DC.
Yeah, that's how Alex feels. He's in the portal about it.
Alex the robot. What do you think, Slim? How you feel about that?
Well, I mean, first of all, it was just a good game to watch. I mean, just from the perspective of a football fan, it was a good game to watch. Defense was definitely disappointing in this game, but on the flip side of that, Tyler Van Dyke bounced back in this game. And I think that last play kind of shows why he leans towards Restrepo like he does. Shout out to Restrepo for coming up with that tip on the Hail Mary just to give him a chance to tie the game up. I love that. I love that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I really did think, like, right when he caught that there at the end, I was like, oh my God, they're gonna, oh man. It was one of those ones. It was like edge of the seat, like being all happy, and then of course,
I love that. That's the kind of stuff that makes football great to me. I love that stuff.
That play right there was this season in a nutshell. So close.
Yeah, that's pretty true. That's pretty true. Yeah, there were so many. I don't know. I hate to be one of those people who sits there and whines about bad like referees and stuff like that. But good Lord, is there not anything that seems like it just doesn't go for us? I mean, even that one time. I mean, maybe I'm just didn't quite understand, but that one. It was the drive there from Louisville where they were. I guess it was the end of the half, maybe, or whatever. They just kept putting time back on the clock. It seemed like, and it didn't. I don't know exactly what was going on there, but it seemed like they were just giving them extra time. Like, oh my God!
You had first down. You had the first down they gave them. They called the roughing the passer on Ruben Bain, which no.
Yeah, that was bad.
Also, Young Bucks, what do you mean you're done with Dawson? This was probably the most creative game we've seen since Texas A&M, where he hasn't been handicapped by shit quarterback play. What is it with this?
Well, wait a minute. That's not even completely fair. Hang on. That's not even completely fair because they still put up 500 yards of offense against Georgia Tech and North Carolina. So
yeah.
That's not even a completely fair statement. Now, I agree, and I've pointed this out several times, much to the quote-unquote excuse making that it's been called. Dawson does get conservative. Dawson does get repetitive. And there's some things I see out of him that I don't just see out of him, I see out of a lot of people. And it just seems to be a thing in football today, and I don't understand it. Like, he's far from the only person that's going to run the ball on 3rd and 18. I see a lot of people do that, and I'm like, why?
Yeah, that drives me insane.
Yeah, I mean, especially when you have a quarterback like Tyler, where he's playing at his best today. I know he hasn't been all season, but today was definitely he really bounced back.
Yeah,
and I'm everybody's given TVD hell about only throwing to Restrepo, but he did that again today, and it the guy catches the ball and it actually works. You know what I mean? It's like, if nobody else can do it, at least throw it to the one guy that can.
Well, and
I do have to.
And there were several of them to Colby Young too, and he's another reliable target.
I do have to ask, what do you guys think about? We saw Jacoby George get upset because he felt like he was being held on that 4th down there. What do you think you guys?
He got held. He got held. They only showed from the camera angle that you can actually see it once, and they never showed it again. Yeah, he got held. He had a hand
I'm
on his
done.
shoulder and a hand on his handful of jersey.
Yeah, no, I see people calling that a bad throw by TV, but it's like, no, it's not. He's getting pulled down.
Yeah,
he
got held.
He's putting
Yeah,
that
I
in a
was
spot
waiting.
where
I
only
was
Jacoby Joyce can
waiting.
get it, and he would have gotten it.
I was waiting to get a personal foul on that one play when for targeting when our two defensive guys ran into each other. I figured they'd give us a targeting call on that.
God, and that was so unnecessary. Who was that? It was Couch and somebody else. I can't remember who it was now. Davis, yeah. And I mean, I can't even be mad at Kitchens for, trying to make a play and then, couldn't quite get him out of bounds. I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah,
that's
that
20
play
years
right
of Miami
there.
Football right there.
Right, exactly. I mean, that play right there was kind of the game changer, really.
Yeah,
I mean, it really was, because they're in the second half, and I'll give the defense this much credit. They shut down the run game in the second half. They were running pretty well in the first half, but they obviously made second half adjustments and really kind of clamped down on them.
Yeah, and but we still couldn't stop tight ends.
No,
I guess since we don't throw to them and practice against it, it caught us by surprise.
Yeah, well, our defense doesn't even know what they are. Who are these people?
LW, we would have. Unfortunately, Alabama's so irrelevant, they didn't bother putting them on TV. But North Alabama apparently is more relevant because they were on TV.
On the CW network, right after reruns of The Flash.
Hey, you know what? North Alabama might be on the CW after a rerun of The Flash, but Alabama's so irrelevant that they weren't even on TV.
He says, fair point. What's up, LW? Oh, man. Yeah, this game here, it was just kind of there for a minute, the third quarter, I thought, we're going to win this. We're actually going to win this game. And then it just, like I said, that one play, it just kind of fell apart. And then there at the end, we had I thought we might have had a chance there too. But, like Alex said, that last play kind of sums up the whole season.
Well, and then they could have even had a better chance if it wasn't for, basically two unnecessary, unsportsmanlike penalties. You got to keep your head in the game.
Now, Slim, I touched on this before the show with Brennan a little bit. How do you feel about Mario taking the timeout there on fourth down?
Not a fan.
I mean, yeah, I wouldn't have taken it. But I can't understand, just like Greg McElroy sort of explained, it's fourth down. You want to make sure you kind of have the perfect play call. But
and maybe they saw them doing something, because not trying to go down a Michigan rabbit hole, but everybody checks out everybody's signs. So maybe they saw something from one of their signs they didn't like, and we're like, okay, let's try this instead.
Yeah. Either way, I think after the fourth down, they did draw up a good play. It's just like we said, Jacoby George got held.
Yeah. Now I think they were a little, especially the way Mark Fletcher had been running, especially in short yardage. I may even like Don Chaney a little more. I think they were too quick to give up on the run.
To abandon it?
Yeah, well, it's specifically there because they ended up passing the ball 3 times after the first run play from Fletcher.
Yeah, the first run only went for a yard, and then they kind of dug themselves in a. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm back now. They kind of dug themselves in a hole after throwing it on second down.
Yeah, I would have rushed for it on second down and then made a decision from there.
Yeah,
but that's just me in that situation. That's what I would have done.
Yeah, even then, like you that could have gone either way, run or pass. But I feel like it would have been better. It's not an egregious like mismanagement.
Yeah, because both of them, both the run and the pass, have been pretty effective today. So
Yes.
I'm just saying my 2 cents on it. That's what I would have done in that situation.
I mean, at least I feel better going into the Boston College game, as long as it's not
Yeah.
26
Well,
degrees out.
and we were talking about this before the show too. Like, we actually got an explanation on Tyler Van Dyke's injury, and
Oh
like
yeah.
I can't pronounce it, so don't ask me to. But like, I've heard of that before. That is from I've got a friend that's had laid his motorcycle down a couple of times. Um, that's a painful injury. That hurts. So I can kind of completely understand why Van Dyke's kind of been in the shape that he's in.
Yeah, what did they
Yeah.
say? It was like you're saying like his skin separated from the muscle or something?
Yeah, the skin
Ooh.
separated from the muscle and then swells up. Like, in between drives, when and this is something that's been a point of conjecture for weeks, and I'm glad the commentators pointed it out. Tyler Van Dyke was up and down those sidelines talking to everybody.
Yeah, I heard that.
They didn't show it, but the commentators pointed it out.
It's so funny. I can just imagine Mario looking
But
at Twitter or something and telling them, like, hey, could you maybe mention this on the show that he does talk to people on the sidelines? And
yeah,
he's active?
but like when he wasn't up and down the sidelines, they did cut to him at one point. I mean, he's sitting there with a heating pad on his leg in between drives. So,
Yeah,
I
and
mean,
hats off to him for not fumbling when he just got absolutely plowed on that one play.
ooh,
I thought he was going
ooh,
to cough it up on that.
I
ooh,
didn't
that
catch
hurt me.
I know
I
that
didn't
was
catch the
rough.
whole game, but did we not have any turnovers? Like zero?
No, we didn't.
Yeah,
The only turnover of the game was the Cam Kitchens interception.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's great. I mean, that's and Tyler Van Dyke, I thought he played well today.
And penalties. Like, up until they got stupid in the fourth quarter and lost their head with unsportsmanlike penalties, you had 2 penalties on the day for 15 yards.
I mean, the Brashard Smith one near the end kind of ridiculous because a Louisville player literally punched, I think it was Tyler Harrell, in the face in front of the ref. And it's just, it just goes back to, like, these ACC refs are just absolutely ridiculous. And I
Well,
wish I could use the R word, but
I wish it was just ACC refs, but it is getting noticed by people that cover college football all across. And it's not just ACC. Refs across the country are having a bad year. And
yeah.
like, I can't help but wonder, was it just me, or was there an exorbitant amount of reviews today?
Oh, yeah. It felt
Like,
there
there were
was a lot.
5 just in the first half.
Yeah, I mean, this is what you get when you don't have full-time referees, and it's Alan from accounting who on the weekends is taking a Spirit flight to Atlanta
Well,
to referee
I mean,
Georgia Tech.
guess what though?
Exactly.
I mean, guess what? The NFL has full-time referees during the season. Are they any better? No, they're not. Like during the season in the NFL, those guys, like, they have jobs in the off season, obviously, but during the season, they're just NFL refs, and they're just as bad, a lot of times, if not worse. Now, I'm not going to get like the whole holding on George on that fourth down and then him getting the unsportsmanlike. Yes, he was held, but George's body is blocking the ref. That's just football. That's always been a thing. Their defenders use it. Our defenders use it. You try and hide stuff from the refs because they can't see through you.
Yeah, but
Yeah, it is what it is. Penalties are, they and they don't review penalties in any way, anything like that. So it is what it is. They call what they can.
Yeah, I think
it
we
just
had
seems like
one year.
during the 80s.
I think we had 1 year where they reviewed pass interference, but it wasn't even in college. I think it was just in the NFL.
Yeah, and then almost 0 pass interferences got overturned because the refs didn't like being questioned.
Well, I mean, nobody does.
So
I mean, nobody hates replay in baseball more than Angel Hernandez.
That's true.
Hey, Insane Mob, you better keep that on the low, man. There's not a whole lot of people that are going to like the fact that you're saying that.
Yeah, I know, Slim. You're actually getting some love from the comments section this week. That's quite quite nice to see.
That's a departure from the norm.
I love it. The redneck truck driver. That was funny last week.
Well, and I think as far as the defense goes, I think Martin has got a point. I mean, we are still lacking good depth on the defense. I mean, our first and second string, I would be willing to match up against anybody in the country. Past that, you need 3 deep of quality depth, and we don't have 3 deep, not yet. That's something that comes in time.
Not to mention, we have 2 starting defensive ends out.
Yeah, well, I mean, at this point in the season, there's not a team without some people out, and everybody's playing hurt.
Yeah, but it just plays into the depth thing,
Mm-hmm.
And not just that, but Louisville is a well-coached team. Jeff Brom is a good offensive coach with all the motion he was bringing in and the misdirection.
Oh yeah.
It's not like this was Iowa that hung up 38 points on us. But
I dare somebody to hang 38 on Iowa. That's the problem with them.
Yeah. And then it was nice to see just today, TVD against a good defense in Louisville. They've got a good D line. They have, I think they said during the podcast, they have a top 10 rushing defense in the country. Mark Flecker kind of abused that.
Yeah, he did.
And then they have good corners too. They're a little bit lacking in safety, but they do have a good secondary overall. And
yeah,
it's just at least nice to see that. It kind of makes you wonder where it's been all year, but then you add in the injuries with TVD and then a lot of the mental stuff. You can kind of get where it went.
Yeah, well, and it's like I said from the beginning with TVD. Sometimes players just get into slumps, and it's crappy when it's your quarterback because it's easily the most noticeable.
Yeah.
But
I like this comment. Here you go, Slim. Insane Mob.
Okay, I remember. Well, he come in cussing out everybody. That man come in mad that night about something. I don't remember what. No, you're all good, man. Listen, I've done it too. I've come into a stream in a bad mood before and just started motherfucking everybody.
Brennan,
it
see
happens.
if you can find that. See if you can find that picture of the Crips and the Bloods tying the bandanas together in peace. That's basically what happened right now.
Yeah, there we go.
Well, listen, and I've said this before. I'll say it again. I respect FSU beyond just they kept us on the schedule. They didn't run from us like the Gators did.
Yeah, that's facts.
I'm old enough. I've seen enough, and I've read and listened to enough to know that Miami and FSU wouldn't have been Miami and FSU without each other.
Right, 100%. They did kind of, that rivalry kind of. I love that rivalry. It's good.
I'll respect Florida State. Don't respect the Gators though. They can kiss my ass. Florida fans are some of the worst on the internet, and just general as people.
Yeah, I did notice that, Martin, that they didn't get now, and some of that's just on that quarterback. That's an elusive quarterback that's good at getting away from pressure, good at extending plays. So, I mean, that's just props to him.
Not even just that, but a lot of that Louisville offense is just getting the ball out quick into space.
Well, and he's really good too, and you saw it out of both him and TVD today. They would run around as much as they could, but neither one of them put the ball in danger.
Yeah.
Although there were a couple of times TVD threaded the needle, and I got to give him props for it. For I mean, he kind of shut everybody up that said he's got a problem with zone defense.
Yeah, I mean, I said it last week. This was a guy that when he was at his best, he was running the RPO at an elite level. And what's the main thing with the RPO? Reading the defense. You have to be able to read the defense and see what they're coming in with. And you know, like I just said not too long ago, we all know what happened with the injuries, and we all know what happened with the mental aspect. And it seems, not seems, the injuries were definitely still bothering him today. But it looks like, at least for today, finally something clicked with him mentally, that he was able to have a successful game. And it's not like it was against someone of the level of Temple. Like, like we just said, Louisville does have a good defense. They're 10-1 for a reason. This is
they're
a good
top 10 team for a reason.
Yeah, this is, have they had kind of a weak schedule? Yeah, but you play who you play, and they did beat a good Notre Dame team. So it's not like this is some garbage team.
Yeah, they can't help. They can't help. They play teams like Miami.
Yeah, well, and like most people, most commentators, including most of the talking heads, including the commentators of the game today, Miami's a good team. Now, not everything is going their way, but sometimes you have seasons that way. I mean,
yeah,
it is what it is.
Miami and Clemson are very similar this year. They're both better teams than what their records show, but it is what it is. You have those seasons.
Yeah, and the only cure for that is time and recruiting. It's the only cure for it. And for everybody that was worried about the recruiting class, look what's happening. Florida's is falling apart. Guess who's right there to catch them all? Because Mario is absolutely great in the month of December at scooping up people.
We had 2 Gator commits here today. 2 Gator commits, and then Armando Blunt, who was the defensive lineman that committed to Miami and then flipped to FSU. And then now there was like some little rumblings that he might want to flip back to Miami, and it's just
I saw during the game on Twitter, I saw Armando Blunt doing the job.
Oh, really?
In the stands. Yeah.
Well, go to Tallahassee then and get where the best thing to do is go to Waffle House at 3 a.m.
Well, and it's not really going to matter all that much, especially if you get LJ McCray to flip from Florida, which is a very real possibility. And Miami's been in the run. I mean, that's been a tight race between Florida and Miami for LJ McCray anyway. So, okay. I mean, that's a trade I'm willing to make. I'm willing to trade Armando for LJ. I mean, it is what it is.
Let me just respond to Alan real quick, where he says, "You are what your record says you are." Sorry. Yeah, no, we are a 6-5 team right now because there's moments where we are undisciplined. There's moments where we have mental lapses, where the team is. I'm not saying we're not a 6-5 team, but we could be a lot better. And there has been flashes of a foundation that could lead to way more successful years to come. I do fully expect that next year will be better than 7-5, just based on what we're seeing, especially if we can get the quarterback play down.
Well, I'll put it like this: the epitome of the point that I've tried to make about Miami over the years is Mike Norvell at Florida State. 3 wins, 5 wins, 9 wins, 10-0.
Well, about to be 11-0 because they play.
Well, as of right now, they're 10-0. So, but you get my point,
right?
It's progress over time. You have to. That's just. There's some things you can't get around, and that's one of them.
Yeah. But that is pretty funny that they scheduled North Alabama in between Miami and Florida.
Well, and that's something like people have gotten on the SEC teams for doing that. I actually think it's smart to throw one of your non-con cupcakes towards the end of the year like that. I think that's a good idea, to be honest with you. Because basically look at our schedule. All of our non-cons are all in the first 4 weeks of the year, and then you have no break the rest of the year. No reset button if you need one.
Yeah, I mean, we had even our bye was early this year. So it was kind of
Like, I absolutely believe that North Carolina probably would have floundered for the rest of the year if they didn't get to play the Campbell Soup kids in week 9 or 10, whatever it was.
Yeah, and Brendan, on your point, I would have rather just not had a bye week this year because it all went to shit after that. So
right. Exactly. It seems like everything goes to hell after we have a bye.
yeah,
Yeah, wasn't it 19, I think it was, we finally broke that streak of losing after a bye week?
no, it was 2020.
Was it 20? I know it was right around in there.
Yeah, and Insane Mob actually with a good point, which is something we've reiterated a lot, Slim. When building a program, you have to cook and not microwave, which is what we've been saying. We do not want a microwave dynasty. We want sustainability.
Yep. And I got a buddy that's a Canes fan in Nashville, and that's the exact example he uses all the time. Do you want to build something like what Alabama's built, or do you just want a flash in the pan like LSU or Auburn, a one and done?
Yeah, where you can just rewatch the highlights for the next 20 years. Remember that one year where it all came together.
And I don't know if I've said this on here, but I know I've said it before. With Mario, you actually have a chance to build something long term, because unlike Jimmy or Dennis or Howard or even Butch, although Butch later regretted it, Mario's not looking to go to the NFL. He's not looking to move on to something bigger. If you give Mario the opportunity to build something and he builds something successful, he'll stay here until he retires.
All right, Mario has the opportunity to be our Bobby Bowden.
Basically, yeah.
Where one day he gets a statue on campus and yeah, I mean, I'll take that. I mean, I know this is gonna sound ridiculous to say Bobby only won 2 national titles, but he had us in the way. Bobby would have had way more.
Bobby would have had probably somewhere around 15 to 20 if it wasn't for Miami. That's how good. I mean, don't forget, Bobby Bowden had a 15 straight year streak where he finished in the top 5 every year.
Yeah, I mean, well, Insane, that's kind of what we're trying to do. It's just sort of hard. It's a different time than when you look back at the early 2000s. Now everything's about, with a lot of kids, the social media clout, but we are trying to get a lot of those old school Miami, quote unquote Miami guys, where it's all about ball, and you can see it in a guy like Ruben Bain, Nathaniel Joseph, and a lot of the freshmen that we currently have on the roster.
Well, something I think made Butch a cut above everybody else at the time was in his recruiting ability. And where his recruiting ability differs from Mario's is, and not saying Mario can't or doesn't do this, but I just think Butch was much better at it, is finding those 2 and 3 stars that are those diamonds in the rough that nobody else wants, that he can see the potential of what they can be. Everybody said Ed Reed was too small to play the position. Nobody wanted Santana Moss.
I mean, Santana was on a track scholarship.
Well, that was partially out of necessity, because don't forget, that's when Butch walked in was when we got that TV ban and 31 scholarship reduction, and like I think it was his 97, I think it was, recruiting class. Like they maxed out at 13 players. That's all that they could bring in.
Yeah.
Hey, appreciate you, Martin. Appreciate you checking
Martin.
in. Be safe over there, buddy.
Have a good night.
So I mean, it's like you said though. It's a completely different time. It's a completely different era. It's just done differently today than how Butch was able to do it.
Yeah, now it's about dropping your top 10s and top 50s. You have guys dropping top 20s, and it's like, dude, we don't need to.
Well, and like here's to your point about Armando Blunt. Like we're in the era of guys are committing places just to troll people, just so they can shock everybody on signing day
Not
and
even
throw
just
on a
that.
different hat.
Not even just that. And it's like I can't speak to this what Armando Blunt did, but people definitely do it where it's you commit somewhere just to demand a bigger bag.
Yeah, that's definitely part of it. And I'm not saying Armando Blunt's doing that. I'm just using him as an example.
Oh no, Insane Mob, we know you're not here trolling. You're legit just talking ball, and we appreciate that. As much as we joke about the Debbie Downer of the week, I can't stand when people act like just assholes in the chat. I much rather prefer this.
Oh no, I like the people that want to be dickheads. I like making fun of them.
Oh no, that's fun. That's fun, but then sometimes it just gets out of hand.
Yeah, I don't mind a good troll.
Yeah,
but you know, at least bring some game. You know, if you're gonna
like
Yeah,
last week when I said be creative, like what was this dude talking about when I'm the TVD of YouTube and my virginity is 10-0? Like what does that even mean?
Oh man, that was funny.
Oh,
But yeah, I mean, today's game, it was a good game. It was fun to watch, but
it was. I'm not even gonna lie, it was. And you know, shout out. I can't even be completely mad at the defense because I mean, how many 3-and-outs did they force today? You saw the halftime adjustments. I still think what I did before. I still think, even though you can't really get on him today, TVD has been part of the problem this season. Dawson has been part of the problem this season. The fact that we're playing so many young players is part of the problem. Like, as improved, as happy as we all are about the O-line because it looks so much better than it did last year, it's still not there yet. I mean,
no.
Tyler Van Dyke has gotten beaten up this year, and I'm not trying to pick on Malagoa, but that's what you get out of a freshman. It just kind of is what it is.
Yeah, but I think what we're happy about is you were able to see stuff like last week. You had Damari Brown in some critical plays being able to hang on with a guy like Keon Coleman. You have Ruben Baines showing up. You've had Jaden Wayne showing up. Nathaniel Joseph has made some key plays in kick return.
Well, and Ruben Baines, one I can point to. I mean, that man's kind of been on a milk cart in the past couple of weeks. That inconsistency is what you expect out of a freshman.
Yeah, I mean, it's at least freshmen that you can definitely look to build toward and are definitely going to get better, especially when it's not like Manny or like regimes past where you'd see these guys and they flash and flash and flash and they just seem to get worse every year. Not better. And Mario has proven that he can put guys in the NFL. I mean, before last year, how many years in a row did he put guys in the first round and especially in like the top 5, top 10 out of Oregon?
Yeah. Well, and I think part of proof of concept there is look at the linebacker play. I mean, everybody was over all the linebackers we've had.
Corey
and they
Flagg
all look better. Yeah. I'm like, where's this Corey Flagg been for 5 years? No, I understand.
Well,
I get it. I get it. He's had some injuries, and that plays into it. I'm not going to knock him for that. But I think this season is just kind of what we've called it all year. This season is the growing pains.
Yeah. I mean, at least it's not like last year where we're getting blown out 41-21, 45-3. You know, like every game against
we didn't lose to Middle Tennessee this year, so it's
right. Well, and this is something I see. Insane said I see that a lot. He can recruit, but can he develop? Well, fundamentally, I don't like the question because it's not just on Mario for development. There's 11 other coaches there that it's also on for development.
And then we've seen he can develop. I mean,
now he does particularly, get his hands dirty with the offensive line. So some of that you can put on him, and I mean that kind of speaks for itself. To be perfectly honest with you. But like if a wide receiver comes in and doesn't get developed, that to me that's not on Mario. That's on Kevin Beard.
Yeah,
He's the wide receiver coach.
and even then with Kevin Beard, I mean, how good has Jacoby George looked this season?
And Restrepo and George. I mean,
Young, Isaiah Horton has made some plays in his limited playing time.
Yeah.
I mean, it's that whole thing of can he develop? With Mario, we always knew it was going to be about can he build the right staff around himself. We knew he's not.
That's definitely.
We knew he's not a quarterback whisperer like Lincoln Riley, who is going to sit down and really develop that side of the ball offensively. We knew
he was he was an O-line coach. I mean, let's
yeah, but that's
be
just
clear about that. I mean,
no, and I see what you're saying, Mom. Like it does fall on him, but it falls on him to build the right staff. And so far, I think he has with Jason Taylor and how well I mean, this was a D line that in 2021 was getting almost no pressure, but he's brought in the right players and helped them and had the right coaches to help them develop. We've also seen it with guys like Corey Flagg. These linebackers, we were playing Ryan Ragone at linebacker 2 years ago.
Hey man,
I mean,
don't hate on Ryan Ragone.
I know, but hey, he's not a bad guy, but we know what his limitations are. But he's brought talent into the linebacker room, and those guys have developed and are playing at a way better level. I mean, Francisco Mauigoa has been probably one of the best, if not the best linebacker in the ACC this year.
We have to touch on this because I've heard about it all week, and it's frankly annoying me. And I'm not trying to pick on anybody.
Is it Dorsey?
Yes.
Yeah, I was about to bring that up.
Yes. Okay, listen. 3 weeks ago, every Miami fan in the country was pointing and laughing, trying to say that somehow they're proved right because Dan Enos got fired from Arkansas, despite what he did at Maryland with that absolute elite offense there. But
I think that's more Mike Locksley because we see Josh Gaddis is doing great there at Maryland, and I don't think that's him.
Well,
just saying.
Here's the thing, though: how many OCs have to leave here and do good somewhere else before you look in the mirror and realize what's staring back at you is the problem?
I mean, yeah, I think last year with Gaddis, it was a bad offense, but then you look at all the injuries that this team had. I mean, last year was really just what could go wrong can go wrong.
Sure. Like, and I pointed this out at the time, and people just said I was making excuses, but there are 3 games you can look at that Josh Gaddis had absolutely zero to do with them losing. And would anybody have been talking about firing him if we were 8-4?
No.
So that's
for an example. I don't think you can put FSU on Josh Gaddis. I mean, Tyler got hurt really early in that game, and then Jake got hurt. You're down to Jabari.
Well, the 3 games I used was A&M because there were literally 17 drop balls in that game.
Yeah.
Duke, because I promise you, Josh Gaddis isn't teaching them to fumble the ball. We had 8 fumbles against Duke.
And then, no, it was 8 total turnovers with Jake Garcia throwing 3 picks. And it was 3 of the worst picks I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, that was horrible.
Yeah. And the other one, listen, if your team has an ounce of give a damn, you don't lose to Middle Tennessee State. I can't put that, a team like Middle Tennessee State, I don't care what happens. The way my mind works, it's not possible to blame the coaches. That is 1,001% on players.
No, I mean, even after the game, you had players being like, yeah, we were still riding the high of Texas A&M, which even then, that's stupid. It's like, what, everyone was patting you on the back for keeping it close? There's no such thing as a moral victory.
Yeah. So that's
you lost. Get over it.
So before we get too far off into the weeds, my whole point is, why do we want to hire a guy that just got fired? Now, I get it. It's not all on him because Buffalo's kind of look like us this year. You know, the offense has been able to move for the most part, but they've had a lot of turnover problems.
The Josh Allen effect. But I mean, I've seen some people saying bring him in as a co-OC, not necessarily fire Dawson. I don't think Dawson has really done anything this year that's fireable because, like you said, we've been able to move the ball against NC State. We were able to move the ball. It's just, yeah. And last week we were able to outgain FSU. I don't think Dawson's done a terrible job this year. I just don't.
We outgained Georgia Tech by more than 120 yards.
Yeah, I mean, it's really just been a problem with turnovers, and even the players have said it. They're not executing.
Well, it seems like we just can't click this season too. I mean, it's like the defense has carried us and carried us and carried us. This week, I mean, TVD actually played well and did good, but the defense didn't do what they normally do. So it's we either have one side or the other, you know.
I mean, I was talking to one of my FSU buddies, and he asked me, "How do you feel about the Louisville game?" And I was like, "Look, if we get Texas A&M Tyler or something close to that, I don't even need 400 yards, but just something like in that range, we win by 2 touchdowns. If we don't get that, then we lose by 2 touchdowns." And that's because I thought the defense was gonna show up and was gonna, do what they've been doing all year. But they just didn't. You know what? I'm not gonna say it's fine, but sometimes it just isn't your day. It just isn't. He's gonna play at an A+ level. It's just not realistic.
Now,
it's why games close against. Oh, I'm sorry. It's why games are kept close against inferior teams.
Now, to your point of maybe making him a co-OC, that way you have somebody that's able to step in and take the role when Dawson does eventually leave, because I assume at some point all coordinators are going to leave. I think it's an absolutely great idea to have a co-OC waiting in the wings to take over.
Yeah, and then Deuce said Louisville has a first-year coach with 10 wins, and we can't do that in our second year. Well, first of all, look at their schedule. It's not great. And even then, in a lot of the wins, they went down to the wire with Virginia. They lost to Pitt, who's absolutely atrocious. They've gone down to the wire in a lot of games.
Well, let's be honest.
It goes your way.
They missed the best teams in the ACC. They didn't play Clemson. They didn't play North Carolina. They haven't played Florida State until the title game.
Yeah.
The toughest team in the ACC they played is us.
Yeah.
And Rhett Lashley's first year, we went 8-2. That's the equivalent of a 10-win season. And those exceptions to the rule do happen. But those are exceptions to the rule. I for the life of me, I will never figure out why people base their expectations year one on the exception.
Yeah, and then, like you said, with the Rhett Lashley 8-2, we beat one team with a winning record that year.
Yeah.
It's a very similar situation in Louisville, where they've had this very weak schedule, and they've had a lot of close games against bad to mediocre teams. But the ball has just seemed to roll their way.
And sometimes that very much is a thing that is never going to show up on a stat sheet. You're never going to see on paper anywhere. But you need luck to win absolutely every game.
Yeah. I mean,
like perfect example. I mean, it was absolutely lucky for Louisville that those two corners ran into each other and dude's wide open for the touchdown.
No, and even then, I can give you another example, different sport, but a great example. 2013 Miami Heat. We all know the story where Ray Allen hits the corner 3. But Greg Popovich, arguably one of the greatest coaches in the history of basketball, puts Tim Duncan on the bench, and the ball bounces a certain way so only Chris Bosh can get it and kick it out to Ray Allen to hit that 3. And yes, Ray Allen, we all know the story where he's been preparing for that shot where he runs backwards into the corner and sets his feet and he runs that crazy drill. But that's also what luck is. Luck is sometimes just opportunity meeting preparedness. And sometimes it just has to bounce your way.
Somebody asked earlier, and it went by, and I just found it. Worrying about any crucial players transferring. I don't think so. I really don't. Not
Except
with the
I could see
culture.
TV. I could see TVD.
It may be him, but it also depends. Like they ran themselves short in the quarterback room this year because Jaden Rashada flipped on them. So I'm not sure if they're going to want to put themselves in the position to do that again.
Yeah. I'd just like to address two comments. Patrick, we're not crying. We said Louisville was a better team and they beat us. I don't know what the crying is. We're just pointing out that they're in a better position in year one because of that schedule, and they've also struggled in some games. And then just with Deuce, yeah, we've also called out Mario on the game management. We absolutely have. We did it earlier with the timeout where me and Slim both said we would not have taken the timeout in that situation.
Yeah, but we also we don't know what they know. We don't see what they see.
Yeah.
And who says it was Mario that asked for it? Maybe it was Dawson that asked for it. Like a lot of things get put on Mario that I'm not necessarily certain are on him. Like we assume that's Mario with the timeout, but it could very well be Dawson, and we don't know that.
I mean, a lot of people just like to assume that when Dawson goes conservative, it's just Mario in his ear letting him be conservative. But when things are going right, it's just all on Dawson being great, and it's not Mario. Like it's just so like we're just assuming a lot, but we're not in that building. We're not in that room. But whatever, it's still another loss. That's all it is. At the end of the day, it's all finished.
It's another loss.
At the end of the day, it is. But I mean, if you can't look at the way this team's played, even on their downs, even when the team played its worst, pick whatever game you want, it's still better than pretty much any game you can look at last year.
Yeah, even the wins. I mean, Virginia, we won that game last year, like we did this year, but that was god.
Yeah, that was 12 to
also,
14 and 4 overtimes.
Also, let me remind people too. Let me remind people as well that at the beginning of the season, before we even started this, when we went on and did that, all of us had a 7-5 prediction on the season. You had 8-4, but at which take away.
But I said 8-4 was their ceiling.
Right. Well, that's what we all said. We hope for 8-4. Well, we hope for the best, but
we would be on 8. We would be on pace for 8-4 if we learned to kneel the ball.
Right. If we had just taken a knee that one time, we would be on pace to do that. Hopefully, we win next week, and that's 7-5. We make a bowl game and
win it.
That would be exactly what we went into the season predicting. So.
Yeah, and I mean that's 3 wins over last year. You know what? If by the end of December, if we're 3 wins better than we were last year, the season as a whole, I don't have a complaint.
No, especially with the fact that we didn't get blown out. We've been fighting in every game. We've been in every game. I mean, a lot of people said,
and that's like that's something I got into a deep conversation with somebody on somebody's show about this. And I think another perfect example to a team better than their record, because they have absolutely fought every down, every play, every inch, is Virginia.
100%.
And that's just a team where, perfect example, the ball has not bounced their way in some situations.
Yes. Virginia has played to the level of competition of every team they've played. Because
pretty much,
they lost to James Madison, and they were playing tight with an FCS school. But then they beat North Carolina. They were tight with us. They were tight last week against the same Louisville team. Played them close. It was a game down to the wire. that Virginia easily could have won. Yeah, I mean, Deuce just said it. He thought this team was going to quit after Georgia Tech. Teams in the past have absolutely quit after Georgia Tech.
No, we've
Teams
come back and
coached by
fought.
teams coached by Manny Diaz have quit, and I think that's the difference. That's the cultural difference you're seeing now with the team.
Yeah, I mean, when things were going good with Manny, the locker room was bumping and jumping, but then you would have games like North Carolina, 700 yards of offense, 500 yards rushing. All right, you lost me for a second. You had games like North Carolina where all they did was spam that goddamn counter play.
Yeah, that same play.
Over.
And it's like as much as you want to, and I got absolutely lambasted in a comment section for this, but it's like, how many times can your defensive ends see that same play over and over and keep overrunning it?
Yeah.
And you're blaming the coordinator.
I mean, we've said it a million times. We're not the show that gets on here and screams and bitches and complains and just throws a fit. Like, if you want that, being honest with you, go somewhere else. Don't watch this show. We're just going to be real, and we're just going to, like, legit try to have a real outlook on this. Not every loss is the end of the world. Does it suck losing? Yeah, it does. I was sitting on the deck watching this game, just pissed off, feeling like we could have won it. Guess what? I'm not going to let my mental health be dictated by how 18-year-olds perform on a Saturday. Sorry. And it is getting better. That's it.
Yeah, we're definitely not going backwards this season. At least we're going. Dominique, exactly. Plenty of Twitter spaces for that. There are plenty of Twitter spaces for that.
And they're mostly dominated by Tennessee's Vols fans, I've noticed.
Oh.
Just call it like
man, I hate Twitter spaces.
This fucking team is so damn garbage.
and these comments are what I find the funniest. We spent $80 million on extreme mediocrity. Well, no, we haven't. Not yet. Like, that's the whole thing. What are you expecting from Miami fans? Didn't want to listen to it, but I saw it. Others saw it. A ground up rebuild in that locker room.
Yeah, I mean, this isn't NCAA 14 where now we can just jump into year 2, and because we have the sticks and we've been playing I've been playing NCAA 14 for like 10 years. I know all the cheesy plays. I can take any team and just immediately rebuild them and just run the cheesiest shit and win a national title in year 2. That's not how this works.
Listen, I would love it if I could create a player and throw him out there and he wins 4 straight Heismans and 4 straight national titles. It'd be lovely, but it's just not going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, it's not real. There's a reason why it's a video.
Yeah, well, now even beyond that, though, I do think Nick Saban has kind of set an unrealistic expectation for people.
Yeah, everyone wants to reach for the highest thing, and that's it right now. Where it's 6 national titles, 15 years.
Yeah, but even before Nick Saban, I know you're not old enough to remember this, but I know TF is, and he's even higher on my college coaching list than Nick Saban. Before Nick Saban, everybody was trying to measure up to Tom Osborne, and nobody else could do that either.
Yeah, there's always going to be that next person. I mean, there's always going to be
exactly. And I mean, if you just want to go by career progression, because that's normally how it works, with rare exceptions. I think Kirby's one of them. One of those rare exceptions. And Dabo kind of is, because he didn't, start at smaller schools and work his way up as a head coach. But Clemson did give him the time, so that's where I'll say he's kind of an exception. Look at this point, at the same point as Mario is in his career right now. Look where Nick Saban was.
Right.
Yeah,
That's exactly what Dominic's saying here as well.
He hadn't achieved half of what Mario already has.
Yeah, I was going to say that. I mean, at this point, Mario was like not Mario. Nick was like on some like mediocre Michigan State teams who would pull off a couple upset wins here and there.
Yeah, but we're struggling week in and week out against Illinois and Indiana.
Yeah.
It wasn't until he got an LSU, his second Power 5 head coaching job, and it was still 5 years into it before it happened.
And 100% VLC, 100%. I mean, like you go on Twitter and you see people, they're already like screaming for Mario's head, and they're, oh, we need to fire him. We need to. I'm like, Jesus Christ.
Who are we getting? Who are we getting?
That, like the people that, and I saw this comment earlier, and I see it all the time, day in and day out with Miami fans. And same crap for 20 years. Yes, because you've been doing the same crap for 20 years. So let's all say it together. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. At some point, you have to stop doing what you're doing.
I'll go back to NCAA 14. This isn't that game where you can create Dingus Pingus, offensive coordinator at Boise State, and move him up to Miami, and he wins 8 straight national titles. Who would...
Now, Deuce, I'm gonna disagree with you a little bit. I thought the whole towel pulling and that wide receiver trying to trip up James was kind of funny. I mean, that's just them out there having fun. Nobody threw a flag on that. They're just out there having fun with that one. And see, Patrick, apparently you're not listening because nobody is.
Debbie Downer of the week, Patrick Reagan. Congratulations.
Oh, the ever so coveted Debbie Downer of the Week award.
You have just won a new 2001 Nissan Altima.
Right.
No. It's not the somebody else already won the Altima. He's getting the Toyota Tercel.
Next week we're giving away a Dodge Dart, guys.
Well, that actually might be kind of cool.
The Dodge Dart or the Tercel?
Yeah, the Dodge Dart. The Dodge Dart might actually be kind of cool. 82 Honda Civic.
If you look up ugly car, first image you'll probably get is like a newer Dodge Dart, because those things are an eyesore. Or a Kia Soul.
Ooh. Or a Gremlin. Those are pretty bad.
Now, Michael, I'm gonna disagree with you a little bit too, because as much as as many flaws as we're pointing out with Miami, as well as everybody else, Florida's in way worse shape than we are.
I hope they keep Billy Napier forever.
Yeah, I do too. And I think we'll win that game. I think we'll start out good again next year. I think we'll beat Florida.
Starting off next year, live show from Gainesville. Hopefully all of us will be there.
Yes, hopefully. We may get some interviews from some salty Gator fans post game. We will keep you updated.
The Gator tears will be very delicious that night.
Yeah, that'd be pretty awesome. We need to make that happen. We need to make sure we're there.
Yeah, and then we can drive up to Tallahassee. Then we can drive up to Tallahassee to actually party, because there isn't anything worth a damn in Gainesville. Trust me, I've been there. It fucking sucks.
Well, I've been there too, but I've never been there for a game, but I've been to Gainesville.
Oh no, in Gainesville, dude. When I've been out in Tallahassee partying, I meet Gainesville people every night, and they all say the same thing. We always just drive up to Tally on the weekends because there ain't shit to do down there. There's like 2 bars and they suck.
Damn, Tally's like a 2-3 hour drive from there.
Hey,
screw that noise.
Not too bad for a good time, and when you're a college kid with energy.
Hey man, all I need is like a patio at a hotel, and I can go to a liquor store. I'm just fine.
Oh yeah, no, we're just gonna head to the bar out right now after this wraps up. So much for just on here for 15 minutes. We're going on an hour.
I
Hey,
know
that's
Alex.
you.
Alex is sitting on a cruise ship, taking his time to to be here.
How
So
much I care. Mark, I want to
exactly.
raise next year. I'm taking time out of my vacation.
And I really hate
That's a
that picture behind you. For the longest time, I thought you were like laying on like a on your bed and like a horrible
I think someone
stains all over the sheets or something. I was like, what the hell is Alex doing?
Well,
I really hope that's throw up and not something else that I could put a black light up to.
Michael Hill, I get what you're saying. But much like we said a few minutes ago, how much better the team is this year compared to last year, I think you're going to see an even bigger jump next year.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I do
I,
too.
I
Our line's going to get nothing but older.
oh
And that's going to
yes.
help. They're going to beef up a little more. It's going to be a definitely different team. I Do you think we'll have TVD next year?
Probably.
You think so?
Yeah, I think this week. I think this week, and especially if we rattle off the 3 wins that are left, not three. I'm sorry. If we
Two
rattle off
wins,
next week, and then the
the
bowl
bowl
win,
game.
especially with how he performed this week, and he performs one of those 2 games, I think he'll be back.
Well, he's going to be in college next year regardless. Especially dealing with injury, I don't see Mario. I don't see Mario as the type to try and force somebody out anyway. Um,
I mean, he did it this offseason. I don't know what you're talking about. He forced
but
a lot of dudes out.
that was for other reasons though.
Yeah, I mean, no, he's not going to force TVD out. I get that, but he will force you out if he sees you're a cancer. I don't think TVD is a cancer.
Yeah. Now and we kind of touched on this a minute ago. The main reason I don't think he will, we don't have a big time quarterback coming in this class.
Yeah.
No, we
I
don't.
mean,
We've
we
got
said it.
another project like what Emory was supposed to be. So
No, if TVD decides to transfer, we're going to have to hit the portal.
yeah,
No,
they're
we're
gonna
hitting the
have to.
portal regardless. Hit the portal regardless, even if he
Well,
stays.
I don't know because how many quarterbacks do you really need? Because
Well, I think you're
you would
say
assume
hell.
after sitting out this year that Ja'Cory would be ready to play next year.
Yeah, but I would still personally want to bring in one more just for the competition. I'm not saying get an elite guy out there, but get a guy that could play and can compete.
But how many people at the level that especially Miami fans expect are going to want to transfer, come through the portal if they know TVD sitting there? Like if TVD
I mean, you had
is
Ole
staying
Miss
and
with
he's going to
Lane
be
Kiffin.
there, you're not going to.
Like to Brennan's point. Okay, there's a whole lot of talk of Arch Manning hitting the portal because Quinn Ewers has said he's coming back next year.
Right. So, I mean, if TVD's going, we need to hit the portal. Otherwise, I don't think hitting the portal is going to do us any good because we're not going to bring anybody of elite
I mean,
talent
should
in
have.
to replace him
And again, I'm not
if
saying
he's
we're
still
gonna
there.
get an. I'm not saying we're gonna get an elite talent, but get a talent. Get someone that can at least compete and push him. I'm not saying someone that's gonna absolutely threaten and steal his job.
Now,
Like,
here's why I actually think TVD. Now, I'm not saying this will be how it works out, but here's where I do think TVD coming back next year can be a good thing. When he came in 21, he was able to ball out for a reason because that was his second year in Rhett Lashley's system. So he's going to do nothing but grow in the system going forward. And I don't care. And there's a lot of Miami fans that don't like this argument. I don't care. It's a very, very good argument that you can't disprove and is very provable. Um, TVD has been put in a position to fail. 4 offensive coordinators in the 5 years he's been here.
Yeah, that
I
doesn't
don't
make
know
it
why
easy.
people are yeah, I don't know why people are expecting the world from him in a situation like that. Just because
yeah,
he's older. I mean, okay, he spent literally every year learning, or Yeah, basically every year except for one, learning a new playbook.
Yeah, I think. I mean, I'm positive about next year. I'm looking forward to a better season, and this season so far has been a lot better than last season. So
I can't take
Well,
it
yeah,
anymore.
and that's where like people like, and I get
Next-
like Richard's argument.
Next year.
I know
I-
next year.
Insane.
It's like, oh my God, just start pounding our heads against the. But yeah,
This
Well,
team-
we're the ones that
Groundhog
put
Day.
we're the ones that put ourselves in this position, though. Firing guys.
It's like run, pass, punt. Oh my God, it's just the same thing.
It is like Groundhog Day.
I'm in a prison of my own making by being a fan of this team. I just can't take it.
Like I do get Richard's point here, and that's just where, like, I understand the point, Richard. I just fundamentally I'm gonna disagree. I think 4 in a quarterback room is fine instead of 5, but I get the argument for 5 as well.
Well, and I do like having, if somebody becomes complacent in their job and there's nobody pushing them to do better. I mean, I do get that point as well. You do want somebody,
Sure.
to keep somebody in check, to say, hey, you better stand up and do what you're supposed to be doing. Otherwise, this next person's just going to take your job. You do need that in the locker room, but
Well, and here's where I'll be like, there's a reason I would rather 4 instead of 5. Now, if you're talking about a graduate transfer quarterback, okay, he's not taking up a scholarship spot. I'm okay with 5 at that point. That's where I'm coming from with sticking with 4, is because you have 85 scholarships to work with.
Yeah.
well,
I think we've about said everything we need to say.
Alex is ready to hit the bar on this cruise ship.
This team makes me want to drink, and now I have an excuse, so it's fine.
There you go. It's always good to have an excuse. Always good to have an excuse. Seems like we seem to have a lot of those excuses.
But it's not mandatory.
No, not at all. Well, Alex, you got any last words for us?
I'm going insane watching this team every year.
That's good for you. What about you, Slim?
I'm not going insane watching this team every year. We're right where I predicted us to be.
Yeah, it's just.
Hey, it's frustrating.
Even though I'm right where we predicted, we're also right in all these games, and there's so many that could have gone our way. I'm just like, dude.
No, the frustrating part is, the frustrating part comes from, like, it's one thing if the fan base is calling for somebody to be fired. It's a whole nother thing when the dummies in charge of shit actually listen to them. Yeah. Like I said it a long time ago. You know what? I would have had all the respect in the world for Blake James or whoever the athletic director at the time is, to hold a press conference just to address the fan base and just walk up to the podium, stare in the microphone, and go, "Hey, dummy, we know what the fuck we're doing. Shut up. We're not firing anybody." And then just walk off.
You have to be political.
That's it. Like,
hey, there you go.
If they'd have done that, I'd have been happy with them. And it's getting to the point they need to, because like you said, oh, fire Dawson. Oh, kick this guy off the team. He don't need to be there. Oh, fire Mario. We're wasting money. Listen, we put ourselves in the position where a 2-year turnaround just isn't possible. We've set ourselves back so many times.
I think it'd be really funny to have a Donald Trump type as an athletic director that'll just shit talk the fans back.
Hey, just listen, if he loses the election, I'm campaigning for him to become Miami's next athletic director.
All right. Well, on that note, we will go on ahead and wrap this
that's
up.
Not technically political. It's not.
Well, Well, yeah, everybody, we do thank you for tuning in. Please make sure you have hit that thumbs up button. Go follow Alex on Twitter. It's a really hard thing to figure out, but if you can figure out what is it? Granddaddy
Papi.
Long Legs.
Papi Patalaga.
Yeah, there you go. If you can figure that up, you can find Alex on Twitter there.
If
Slim
you
Shady
speak-
Canes on Twitter as well.
If you speak Mexican, you can find me.
Damn, why you gotta get all racial about it? Jesus.
Hey, it's my own thing. It's my own little subsection. I can talk all I want. That's how this works, right?
Yeah, there you go.
Well, am I an
There you
engine?
go.
Since I'm part engine, can I go get on Florida State's horse then?
Okay, goodbye, everybody.
Yeah, we really do appreciate you tuning in. Please hit that thumbs up button. Follow Slim Shady Canes on Twitter, Alex on Twitter as well. You can also follow us on Twitter, Traveling Fools, and on YouTube, Traveling Fools as well. Thanks a lot, everybody, for being here. We really do appreciate you. Let's go watch some more football. Should be a good time. Everybody have a great night, and we'll see you next week.